Let's get it started.
Monday, December 11th, we have a city council work session. We haven't done, we have 4:33. First thing on the agenda we will discuss is discussion of the wastewater infrastructure and connections outside the corporate limits of the city of Fairhope.
Do you want me to start with that, Councilman Martin?
Ma'am?
Would you like me to start talking about that?
Yeah, are they going to present, or how, I didn't know the format, how are we doing it?
We are not presenting anything. This was put on the work session, I think, by
Just
you for
yeah,
discussion.
Just for discussion?
For discussion.
Okay.
Correct.
So what we have, guys, here is a possible resolution where we are trying to decide whether we want to give or not give a availability certification application to those that are coming new to do something outside of our corporate limits as far as development is concerned, or subdividing or any of those things where we have to give sewer, create more sewer customers. That's where we are. So the question of the matter is, you know, there was a couple of languages in there. I think we have two different drafts. One where we had a draft where we would give to no one outside the city or the corporate limits, but we would let certain people, single family and certain subdivisions do it. Me personally, I think if we're not going to give it, then nobody needs to get it to make it complete. So, council, let's have a discussion about that. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Councilman Martin, if you don't mind, too. I think the biggest thing with this is because we are having Kimley Horn do some engineering work to show us kind of the upgrades that need to be done in that area, lift station wise, and also from lines. And Daryl, if you want to come up and speak more to this also, but have them looking at that. And so this won't be indefinitely. This is just until we get a plan in place and know the cost of that plan, the feasibility of it, for us to be able to start approving, again, subdivisions outside the corporate limits, specifically areas, 32, 181, those areas. But again, there's not a specific time right now, but we will have a timeline probably in the next several months.
Right.
So can I piggyback on those comments
You can.
just with a question, Darrell and Mayor?
Sure.
So this would apply citywide, but are there places that are in better shape on the fringes of the city that could accommodate some of this, or?
As of where the proposed building is, no. I mean, our infrastructure just can't handle these major subdivisions. It's without significant upgrades.
Okay. And then Councilman Martin, a question for you, and I'm just trying to set the tone here, or set the table here. You said that, I guess that when you said it should apply across the board, so I think you're pointing to that clause that says may provide to a subdivision with 4 or fewer lots or single-family homes. You would just apply it across the board, right, and not have that exception in there?
I would. It's up to us guys as a whole to decide that, at least 3 of us, if we put it as a resolution. But, yeah, I would take that little bit out because, you do for one, you have to do for all, in my opinion.
Okay.
And Daryl, I didn't have a chance to ask you this, but do you think a 90, like right now, if we said, we know this is going to be in effect for at least 90 days, 3 months to 6 months, until we can get a plan in place?
Absolutely.
And then we can come back to the council and revisit it and let them know what the plan is and talk more about it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of numbers to crunch and data to gather to figure out what our system can handle in that area.
So, the feasibility, as far as, you said, we're in the process of getting all that information right now.
Correct.
Of what that would look like. All right, okay. And you said in 90 days, is that enough time?
You think,
I'd say at least 90 days. I mean,
Yeah.
so we said 3 to 6 months.
6 months. Let's say 6 months.
Yes.
Let's not, let's give us a little bit of time,
Right,
If we get it in 90 days, great.
Yeah.
But, yeah, give yourself a little
Yeah,
time.
we need some time to figure this out.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
yes.
it's not just figured out, but it's got to be implemented
Yeah.
if you
Gotta
figure
be-
something out. I mean,
Right.
it's not going to be implemented in 6 months.
No,
It's
it-
not.
It will
Yeah,
not.
And
No.
how to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so in 6 months, we should have something to tell the public of where we are.
Absolutely.
And then we'll go from there.
Yes.
So we're looking at least a year, possibly.
You know,
You know.
depending on the upgrades that
Right.
is recommended to
Yeah.
serve these big subdivisions that people want to
Right, yeah, okay.
So, there's no dates. I noticed there's no dates on here as far as, it doesn't say 90 days, 6 months, 1 year. It just, would we just
That's right.
pass another resolution to repeal that, or?
I don't know that you'll have to pass another resolution. I think what I wanted you to know is just that we are working on it currently. There will be a timeline. We can, commit to reporting back to you. And that way we can let, folks know kind of what the timeline will be. But
Yeah.
we will report back to the council no later than 6 months from now.
Yeah,
And
can
then
we
you
just
can
say
take additional
indefinitely right
action
now,
if
Marcus?
necessary.
Can you,
As is, it's indefinite.
that's right,
So
so.
I'm saying, there has to be some action to undo that action, I would think. right?
Well,
Well, I mean, part of it's gonna be get the study in, and then we're
Right.
gonna get a report off that. I don't know how long that.
right.
That's the kind of.
So I would just, I really wouldn't, in my opinion, I would leave it as indefinite right now, and then we can take action to undo whatever we've done whenever we find out, all the information that we need as far as, to implement a plan. What got Jay?
Yeah,
Just a-
I think that seems right.
All right, so this is just addressing the wastewater
Correct.
So,
issues
yeah.
and just saying, not going to tap anyone in that's outside of the city limits.
And that's for you, the paper says 2 to 4, but if you guys decide 0, then 0.
I do have a resolution prepared without the 3 to 4, 2 to 4 in it.
Thank you, Lisa.
I mean,
Anything-
I know Darrell hasn't spoken yet. I'm sorry, Darrell. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do agree with Councilman Martin. Council President, sorry. You got to get used to that, Council President.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, go ahead.
Get it right.
I agree with you to take that language out and make it across the board.
Right. Darrell, so give us a little bit of what we're looking at, so people kind of understand where we're coming from. Can
So
you- can you-
So the area we're looking at is Highway 32 and 181. There's a lot of open land there, land that could be sold, and our infrastructure in that area is not the greatest. It's not in the best shape, but that's where the popular hotspot seems to be right now, around that area. So that's where we're looking at, have Kimley Horn looking at upgrading our sewer system and seeing what it's going to take and how much it can handle, and what work would need to be done to accommodate those developments or future developments.
Okay. Okay. Council, y'all have anything for Darrell on this? Any thoughts? Anybody ain't got any heartburn about this?
Well, I mean,
Well,
heartburn, but the one thing on these studies, they tend to show the design work for what we need today as opposed to what we're gonna need for 10 years from now. The amount of countryside out there, either we need to decide how far we do wanna go with a better infrastructure or plan for how far we wanna go with a larger system, because, primarily the lines are too small to carry what we need to have. Major
Correct,
subdivisions going in.
And there's multiple options to look at that as far as either upgrading or completely rerouting and reversing the flow.
It's just, the plan needs to be for whatever we're gonna do, either for future.
And that's what they're looking into.
Right.
They're looking into, it's not just what developments could be there in the next year or two. They're looking
Right.
at the bigger picture as
That's
far as,
correct.
all avenues. And then when he gives us those options, and we'll have to go with the one that makes the most sense and what's best gonna serve.
Yeah. I don't really think the constituents are going to complain about this as far as the right thing to do, because I believe in my heart it is the right thing to do. I mean, you can't continue to develop if you don't have the infrastructure.
Correct.
So it's common sense. In my opinion, I think we should have done it sooner, but that's on us. I'll take that. But, so yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. I think the mayor's right on target. Yep.
Okay? Any more questions? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Agenda item number 2 is discussion of the GIS software licensing. That's by the Planning Department. Hunter.
Thank you, Council President. Collectively, within the city, we have multiple departments that utilize GIS software. I believe in 2019, there was a approved agenda item for $250,000 for licensing, some hardware and things like that. We did not spend that. However, we are, I think our utilization of GIS software between all utility departments, public works, planning, is growing significantly. And right now, we're spending, averaging about $20,000 for software license, and I've got the slide in blue is our current cost. And that's kind of a very limited use. We've got basic licenses, we've got a limited amount of mobile licenses, so getting the information in front of employees is very piecemealed. And collectively, we're spending almost $20,000 right now, and within a couple of additional licenses, we're going to be approaching that $30,000 mark. There is and this is almost a sole source. ASRI is the overwhelming user, provider of GIS software. It's kind of the Microsoft of that world. They have a product that's small government enterprise license. And we finally started reaching the financial point where it makes sense to do this. Many cities around have this license. And you can kind of see a comparison on standard licenses where we're paying $4,300 for 3 of those. We'd get unlimited out of this. We have the money in the budget for this year, but thought it best before I brought it to you as an agenda item to discuss a little bit because it is a 3-year contract. So, and they are going up in January 1st nationwide 10%. Right now, we have that price of $28,400. If we sign a 3-year contract, we'll have that locked in, and I have that quote good for past the first of the year, so we're not in a major rush, but our current licenses will expire late January. So the goal would be to have this in place if we so choose before those expire. In addition to the things we already have, everything on this page is included, so it also offers us more software enterprise solutions that while we might not jump right into that game right now, it allows us to kind of crawl before we walk. That's a very expensive license that unto itself is about $70,000, and that was quoted to you in 2019, which was approved. So we are on the verge of this pricing. It's for cities that are 25,000 and less based on census. So getting this locked in at 3 years, I think, is a positive. It gives us the tools we need moving forward with not much more of a price increase. Actually, now no price increase. And we have this quote good, but again, our license does expire in February, so we'd like to have something new in place. And this is for pretty much citywide, and it's just the licensing, not the data. We're building in-house. Some departments are using third party, which all integrates together. But this just gives us the ability to use the software. Is there any questions or anything that I can answer? The goal would be to have this, I believe, in front of you on the first meeting in January. And if there's any questions between now and then that I can answer, or any tonight.
Yeah, so Hunter, if I may, are you budgeting, you said you're budgeting this year to year on a 3-year contract, or you're going to do the whole 85 in 1 year? How are you planning on doing that?
We will pay for that in 3 installments over the 3 years.
Okay.
This year's budget, we do have the money in the budget.
Okay.
We will not be spending on the previous license what we had budget for, but instead use it for this package, and then now we would be making that commitment for 2 more years after this year, but be paying for those year by year.
Okay.
Can you go back to one slide? There we go, the back one more maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, what is, I'm not really sure. Everything looks good, by the way. I agree with your ask. Receivables, though, current, there's a number of 36,000, and then on the small government enterprise, there's a number 10,000. It makes it look like you're getting.
We are getting,
20. What does
good
that
eye.
mean?
We're actually getting less in that category. Credits are, software by subscription is the model everybody's going through. Office is doing the same thing. Instead of paying for, there's your license, you get to keep that forever, your annual subscription.
Right.
What the credits are for is a virtual hosting of data, which can grow as you need it. They're $100 for a lump sum of 1,000 credits. You're actually cut down in this package because you have a server license and can start hosting some of your own. So you're not relying on their services to host that data.
This
We can
doesn't
still
hinder your
use it.
ability, you don't think, in the way you need to use it in any way. It's not less, right?
No, and
You
if
don't
we
need more
choose,
of those credits, right?
it gives us another option to host that information. It's entirely possible that any department can say, hey, I need another 1,000 credits to get by the end of the year, and they pay $100 for those 1,000 credits. But right now, we're kind of trying, why that 36,000 is there, we've never utilized all that. But at the first of the year, we're trying to estimate how much we'll grow in the next year in the hosting of data. So we overshoot. This will allow us to just, as needed, we can add on if we choose to host that model. One way that might actually be helpful, there's some apps we're kind of working on with some of the utilities. You know, if they choose to, for example, take pictures of things, we can tie that to GIS and the mapping, but that increases the hosting cost. So if we're choosing to use this service, we might have to bump those credits up.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Hunter. Yeah.
I think that was the last of the agenda items. If y'all want to keep me up here as it moves to departments, I do have the rezoning case. There's also on these slides if you want to discuss or.
Well, we'll do
Move on to-
committee updates first,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, committee updates?
I don't have any for this month. We'll start our committees
Yeah.
tomorrow night with Airport Authority meeting.
I've got a update for y'all just on the library board. Just wanted to make sure the council was kind of caught up to speed on this, but they did have a board meeting earlier this month, and the main topic, I guess, was some discussion of reconsideration of some books that had been kind of ongoing. And there was a group that had several individuals that had proposed relocation of, I think it was 14 books in total from the teen section. It was referenced multiple times from the children's section, but none of these books are in the children's section. They're in the teen section and have been requested to relocate them to the adult section. They went through the review process, and several of the staff members read the books in their entirety and determined that they were suitable to be kept where they are. The members that came to speak against that had asked and appealed to the board for reconsideration, and the board voted to uphold the recommendation from the library staff. So that's kind of where we are on that right now.
So
have
it
any
went through,
questions?
it went through the process.
It did
It
go
went
through the process.
Councilman
And
Thomas,
the
can I ask
whole
a quick question?
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, do you feel like more people are supportive of the library board than are opposed right now? You know, there's a lot of silent, I think there's a lot of people, we get pushback in here, the people that want these books moved. And I'm glad you pointed that out, that a lot of people refer to that in the children's section, which is incorrect, right? It's the teen section. But I think that the library board has a lot of support that maybe not as verbalized as the people that are opposed to that and want the books.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a tough question because, I'm sure there's people with strong opinions that just aren't aware of the issue that on both sides that haven't spoken. But I would say of those that have come to the library is definitely more in support of the library than requesting the books to be moved, I would say.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Robinson?
Got a historic preservation meeting on Wednesday, and let y'all know what happens.
No report.
No problem. Same here. I don't have anything that haven't happened yet. All right. So now, Hunter, if you want to go up and do your,
We do have agenda item number 5 on the council meeting is the rezoning case that we talked about last meeting. We left it on there just to get kind of formal action, I guess. But Mr. McDowell and Councilman Burrell and I met Friday to discuss some of the proposed revisions. And on the screen is kind of that language to accommodate the requirement to preserve the character of the existing structure. This will require re-advertising. So I wanted to run this by the council. I would prefer not to get back because I believe this, did I write the date down? I believe this is the second meeting in January, if we re-advertise, when it would be back before you for the first reading, and would prefer not to have to re-advertise it if we can finalize at least substantially the language.
Yeah, if I may, Hunter,
Seven.
Council,
Thank you.
Council President,
Okay.
Mayor, in the meeting, and we met for quite a long time on this, and so it may not look like there were a lot of material changes, but as we tossed this around for a long time, it kind of boiled down to some simple ways to get, what we believe that the council was looking for. I mean, we looked at facade right-of-ways and all sorts of ways to come to that. But, I think what we were trying to do was preserve the character of the existing structure as we state there. And we were concerned that, well, if you lop the roof off and you keep the front, and you take the roof off and you go to maximum height, we weren't really looking for that. But we also didn't feel like that we were opposed to the owner doing something with that property, maybe to enhance it. So we basically allow them to append to that, but they have to keep the original structure intact. And you do that by saying you can't change the roof line, which means you could go inside and you could make it a restaurant, or you could do whatever's within that zoning you want without changing the exterior. And you can't go any higher if you keep the original roof line the same. But if they go in there and you say, well, if you add on, what if you go 40 feet all the way around it? And we said, well, you can't go above the original height of the existing structure. So that puts some type of limit on it, and you won't destroy the charm. You may, as has been mentioned, they may want to add on a little space, but they won't be able to go 4 stories, adjacent to it. But it does allow them to do some things with that property, because that property does have some elasticity to it. I mean, you have downtown, the CBD, correct me, no setbacks, but we even put the stipulation that anything would have to be set back. What is that language again?
Well, and 10 feet from the, and in this rezoning change, there are no setbacks in B2. On the screen is kind of the existing survey. B4 actually does require rear setback, so nothing can be put in the last 20 feet of that. B2 would remove that condition, so it would allow some more space. And we did look, the intent was mainly, an emphasis on that front facade. So the purple line that's on the screen there is the 10-foot into the property. That's what we're saying, any addition shall be behind that. That kind of gets away from the right-of-way a little bit. As you can see, the property line is not the edge of the asphalt, but eaves and other things do. I took some pictures today. Sun was really hard to get a good photo, but that eave right there is right at the property line. Obviously, it steps back, and this photo kind of shows the street view of that. So That was the intent, not tell them what color paint to use, but just to preserve that front portion, and any additions can be behind, mainly behind the building or to the sides where they can fit, and be able to tie into the existing roof lines, but not go any higher than is the goal of our amendments.
Yeah, and I thought, we talked about the facade right away for a long time, and would you do it just on the front? And I thought, I don't want it to look like a movie set, right? A movie set, an old western town, it's nothing but a facade, and then the movie lot's behind it, and so you don't want to just have that. We wanted to really kind of preserve that structure. And we also, but we wanted to be mindful of the owners and give them some flexibility to do, other things with the property, and we didn't want to restrict uses to things, that are already included in B2. And we also talked about time limits, I believe, and just decided to leave it as it is, because whatever the council decides can, Mike Fordville saying what we do, we can undo, and if in the time in the future warrants something different being done, they can convince the council at the time of that, right?
Just since you mentioned that what we do, we can undo, that does make me think. Now, if you do zone it B2, we can't necessarily undo that, can we?
So we do have a list, so coming from recommendations from the staff and planning commission, and also verified with the owner, there is a list of restricted uses here that would otherwise be allowed in B2. It's a little difficult to go and rezone something as a council. It's not impossible for one particular piece of property, but it's entirely within the rights of the council to change all B2. Or it's a central business overlay. Change things in there to require certain uses to say, have conditional use approval or, things along those lines. But as far as changing this zoning back, a revocation of that zoning, I would say it would have to be pretty egregious to do that.
Yeah,
But
and
removing these conditions is certainly something a future council could do.
And I don't want to go down that road, making it sound like that's what I had in mind. I just was asking almost for clarification purposes, but, I don't want to be overly restrictive to people. I want people to want to invest in Fairhope and enhance downtown and enhance the CBD and promote the area. And I'm sure people have lots of good ideas on how to do that. I just want to make sure that we're all having the conversation as a group, and that we know that in general, my stance is I'm not really in favor of upzoning, because once you've opened up you've opened it up to all the different options. And I know y'all worked on this to find something, it's kind of a meet in the middle, I guess. But the other alternative is just to say, well, we don't want to upzone everything, leave it zoned the way it currently is, but then that doesn't fit what their proposal is, so.
Well, speaking on, if I may, Councilman Conyers, is that something that we can also think about? And then could you leave it as a B4 and make the same conditional uses as the power of a council, to where we can allow them in this particular instance, or the Board of Adjustments can make it a whatever it is they're trying to do with this? Is that a portal of entry?
B4 is specifically named professional office.
Yeah.
So allowing restaurants in B4 I would recommend not to take that approach.
Okay.
They are residing within the central business district overlay. So you could potentially add some conditional uses anywhere within the central business district, such as retail or restaurants, and be able to vet those as they come in. I would say there's some areas on the edge of our central business district where we don't necessarily want a restaurant that might be loud and have an evening noise and traffic.
I mean, that's
But
the.
we can vet those as they come in.
Yeah, but that was the whole point of this being, you know, if you're talking about, let's just talk about it if we may. Let's put it on the table. B4 is just that. It's titled B4, so it would reduce traffic, noise, disturbances, things of that nature. If you go and you look at a definition of B4, it's pretty universal across the nation for those different things. So if we have a restaurant, you know, I guess it was already B4 for a reason, is what I'm trying to say. Are we sure that we want to remove that, the reasons that we have, knowing that those things are going to come, parking, noise, all those things? Sure. You know, those are just questions, you know, that we have to
At this site, we
really
did
think
take
about.
that review. We have actually recommended denial of other B4 to B2 further east of here that is closer to the edge.
Because of
We
the gully.
really did the
Because of the
analysis.
gully.
What was next to the, next to
Gully.
that subject property?
Yeah, the reason was because of the gully, was the reasoning behind those. And then I saw that as well.
And there was a couple, they never made it onto an agenda. We received the application. If you recall, we made an overlay district amendment to allow short-term rental anywhere within the central business district. There were two others that we did have it, that were not at the gully. We were still recommending no because it was closer to the edge, closer to residential, and all the uses within B2 would be allowed. When they're short-term, no pun intended, their goal was to get short-term rentals. So we accommodated that through an overlay district amendment. I don't, there's enough of a buffer from this property. It's not on the edge of the
Right.
CBD.
Right.
Other than the restricted uses we proposed, I don't foresee use being a problem on this site.
So for instance, what if this particular property, I'm being devil's advocate right now, gets sold, and then they say it's B2, we can put a daycare there?
Anything that we have not restricted should be allowed. I mean, that's any rezoning, unless it is a PUD that dictates what it looks like and exactly what uses. If it's allowed in B2 otherwise, they would be allowed to do that. That's other than the uses we selectively picked out of B2. Of course, now if there's other uses within B2, we want to restrict, now's the time to do it before we re-advertise.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, if you're gonna do this, and you're thinking about the charm and the character, we have to think about all those things that are able to enter right now. You know,
We're protecting that charm and character of at least the building now.
Well, I'm
If you
talking
think-
about
If you
the-
think that a daycare is not as charming as a restaurant, that just may be a matter of, I know you just made an example, but.
no, it's not an example, it's an
I
actual
mean, you know,
use.
some people may think that one's, you know, cuter than the other.
No, well,
You know, and
Yeah.
who knows what, if property values go down, maybe somebody would do that, but I'm looking at the reality just today of what property costs in downtown Fairhope. And, I don't know if many people could afford to put a daycare on that spot
It'd
and
be
operate it
expensive.
profitably. I would question that, business model.
yeah, not today. Yeah, not today. We're not talking about today. We're talking about what we're opening ourselves up to, correct, as far as the future is concerned. But if you're saying we can undo it, then you can somehow.
I don't think you can undo a
Can't
condition
undo
that you
that.
don't put on there.
Well, see,
That's,
that's what
You
we're-
could put it on
that's
there
what Jimmy-
now
I mean,
if you
that's-
wanted to do it.
Right, so.
Are there any other uses that you're thinking of?
Well, if I may just ask a question, I'm trying to picture kind of a most extreme example of what we've got. So right now, I know what the property looks like. With the current proposal, you'd have the facade would be protected as is, 10 feet inside.
No, the whole roof line is, so they really can't change the structure.
Okay.
That's why we said the roof lines.
Okay,
Roof
okay.
lines, it goes beyond the facade.
Well, that was my question was, do we go 10 feet in and then you've got 40 foot?
No, you can't
So
go above the
corner to
original,
corner.
the height of the original roof either.
All right,
Yeah.
I think that probably
Yeah, and
answers my
That's why I said, we
questions.
talked around that at 100 different ways to do it, and it looked like it was gonna be 2 pages or 5 pages, and then when we thought about it, you can't change the roof line. you can't go up with a building, and
That's
if you
right.
can't go higher, then you can't go anywhere on the property above the roof.
I think you probably addressed it then. I was just trying to picture in my mind
So what
like the
about-
most extreme example.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, we did, and we played all those things. And it takes a while to grasp how that simple, those couple of simple bullets accomplishes that, but it does.
I'm
but it
reading
does.
it, so it covers certain things, but what about an outside sales lot?
But
Can you
now,
see that?
Councilman Martin, and sorry, I don't remember all the dots on our use table.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
had to
saying.
look it up. Remember the daycare, outside sales, all those are the not filled circles.
Conditions.
They have conditional use, so
Okay,
they would
that's what I'm
have to
making
go
sure.
to Board of Adjustment for those uses.
That's what I said, okay.
Our
Just making sure.
restrictions, we reviewed all the restrictions that are by right, that have a no further review, and that's what we added here.
So,
Yeah, let me give you an example of something they could do.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah.
They could take everything from, 10 foot back of the facade and go to both property lines on the east and the west and go all the way to the south property line with a courtyard for people to eat in.
Yeah.
In fact, they could do that, and they could probably go up, put a deck up there too, for a second floor of that. They could do that.
I think, to me, that would be fine. I'm
yeah,
I'm
that's
picturing
fine.
10
I'm
feet.
thinking,
I'm picturing 10 feet deep and then corner to corner to corner, 40 feet.
You can't do it
Yes.
all. Can't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what Jimmy said, and that is, the goal being to, not just for this project, but really every project that comes in front of us like this for the next however long we're sitting here. And that is for the goal to be to enhance the downtown business district. I mean, to enhance downtown Fairhope, which is, one of the hallmarks of really what makes Fairhope different than everywhere else around here and beyond. And so the operative word is enhance, all right? To me, enhance means, maintain sort of the charm and the character and the integrity of what's already down there. Maybe in an innovative and new way, which I know we're seeing a lot of different stuff. But obviously, this is sort of the first domino, because there's a lot of buildings in downtown that are old, that are in bad shape, that we're going to start seeing more and more requests to do things with. And so we're looking at sort of a difference or a coming change of what downtown might look like from at least the outside looking in. And I see these big buildings going up in town, and I know I saw the drawings and they all look great, and I'm sure they'll all look great, but man,
Well,
They
one of the
look-
differences, though,
they look big.
Councilman
and-
Robinson, is that this gives us a unique opportunity to put conditions on it because they're asking for a rezoning. If they weren't asking for if this was B2, we wouldn't have the ability to do any of that. I mean.
Correct.
They could essentially, unless something was, historical, which still hasn't been enacted, they could level it and go up 40 feet.
Right. And if I may, that's a very important point to bring out. We get this opportunity because that language is explicitly in the overlay district that allows us to add conditions to rezoning change. We might not get this opportunity for a rezoning that might be on Greeno Road or, 181 or something along those lines. So that's a very important distinction.
So how do we feel about a shopping center? There.
I feel pretty
Retail
terrible.
store?
I feel pretty terrible about it, actually.
Yeah.
A retail
A
store in
retail
there?
store?
Well, it says a shopping center
Well,
in the black dot.
yeah.
Like, I'm being devil's advocate here because, we have to do this, but, how do we feel about a shopping center? And if we do this now, I'm just putting it out there, how do we feel about a shopping center?
Well, what would that look like, though?
I
That's
mean-
what I'm at, how would a shopping center look right in front of our?
Well, you got a
I mean,
home
it
there.
would-
I mean, you can't alter that.
You
So,
can't- Yeah, shopping center is gonna be like your Eco Rouge or, big parking lots. And I don't think we're gonna get that on this post-stem, especially if we're preserving the building.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know how they do it. I mean, would you add on and,
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, if a restaurant works out there, great, but, we're doing something that's gonna affect the next 100 years.
You're right.
If in 20 years it's not a restaurant and a retail store, goes in, that adds charm, I don't see a problem there. I don't see how they can turn it into a shopping
Well,
center.
that's why I said the operative word is enhance. And I said what it means to me, but to a property owner, enhance means maximize the value that
That's right.
property's gonna bring to you.
That's right.
And if that means cramming a shopping center on there,
Yeah.
then that means cramming a shopping center on there. And so I mean, I know that some of these things are far-fetched in nature,
Yeah.
but we've seen a lot weirder things happen.
Sure.
You have to talk about it, right?
Sure. And the details matter in our zoning ordinance with shopping centers are required multiple users. They have shared parking agreements. There's a lot of parking required there. That use for this piece would just never make sense. But
But we're rezoning.
We-
it to
we
that,
are
though,
having-
so, I mean, we're making
Yes.
it make sense, is what
yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah. It
If
would
I may.
certainly be allowed, when you look a little further in what would be required, the number of parking spaces alone would take that kind of out of the
Right.
So can we
picture,
just
even
add-
if the land was.
Can we just
And
add
I mean, and like I said, I
shopping
get,
center in here?
I get some of these things are unrealistic based on the size of the property. But I think Corey's right.
It's
that
a good-
That it at least needs to be mentioned because like I said, there's a lot of things that have been put in places in Fairhope that 10 years ago you would have said that'll never accommodate that, and then there it is.
Right.
And so, again, I think it's unrealistic to expect that to happen, especially in this piece, and I don't think it will. But, I mean, mine is just more of a global concern for the downtown area, just as things sort of need to
Do
be
you have the
renovated.
usage table? Can you pull up the
Yeah, I have
usage
it right
table?
here. I'm looking at it. That's why I'm not
That's
guessing the
pretty much
website.
the last one.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's, I mean, all,
put it on the
reality, I
priority
think
list.
the way this is drafted.
I want to look at 4 and 2 because, I mean,
It's totally different.
is there something that, well, yeah, I just want to make sure we're not missing something.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hunter, have we shared this proposal with the property owner?
I have not, until we kind of had,
We just did.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not hiding
I'm
it.
just gonna tell y'all, we just did.
Secrets out. I'm just wondering if they had, I mean, obviously, I think they were here at our last meeting. I just wondered if they had any feedback or, obviously, we're putting a lot of things in there that we want.
Right.
They may say, sorry, I'll just stay B2.
Yeah, and before, and that may be, I'll tell you, I don't think there'll be too much heartburn with this. The one thing, and I want to talk about that 10-foot, because that gets in some, where existing HVAC is, make sure that's not a problem in their plans. I think setbacks, if we come back and advertise it as 10-foot and have to change that to 7-foot, I think that's within the rules where we don't have to re-advertise. So big picture, what we're trying to do, if we can pin that down, I'll have that conversation. And, I mean, you're right, that may be a no-go for the applicant.
Can we get to
Stay
the chart,
B4.
please? Can we look at it? Are you talking?
Here, y'all give you.
I was moving quick.
Here, Jack, here.
And Mr. Council President, if I could just make one last comment
Yes,
on
sir.
my end. I just want to say that I agree. I think as a body, we are responsible for looking at this, not just today, but 25 years down
Yes.
the road. And I think it's important for us to have these
Go back to the
conversations.
top so we can see the heading.
Okay, so
And then the
B2
only
here.
other
Yes.
thing on top of that is I will say that there have been a lot of new projects in Fairhope that I think do enhance the downtown area. So I don't want to
Yeah,
make it
no.
out like the developments we've seen haven't been good. I think we've had a lot of great projects that have been an improvement over what had been in place prior, so.
All right, scroll down. some more.
So, to be clear, that everybody understands, we're not against a restaurant, we're against the rezoning, and we have to really be careful about upzoning, as far as changing what we already had in our comprehensive plan of what we wanted, okay? And so that's really what we're protecting right now and talking about. It has nothing to do with the quality of development that we've been seeing downtown. And so to reiterate what Councilman Conyers, I feel the same way. So, but we have to take this due diligence to make sure, since we're doing this up zoning, that we protect the future, and it does not take away from the character and the charm of what has been done so far for all these years. That's just my opinion.
Same.
And we do have some, there's some amendments I think we'll be proposing to ensure all future, and frankly, I'm going to say it, a lot of the amendments we made, some before me, some during my time, were made with the intent of giving some more flexibility, and I think they've squeezed every inch out of it, and we haven't seen the end results that we were looking for. And sometimes I think it's okay to say we made a mistake and we kind of revert back to some of the old language we had with some tweaks to meet those goals. So we're going to be presenting some ideas in the next few months to propose, allowing some of the height, for example, but still maintaining some character. So we're just not getting a big box pushed to every property line.
Can you go back to your recommendations,
Sure.
the original recommendations?
On this page,
Wherever your recommendations are.
There's the-
the
uses,
yeah.
they're
So-
right here.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of comparing the two. Those that are by right, I'm not looking at those.
The black
on
dots.
appeal.
Yeah,
Black
black dots.
dots,
Uh-huh.
correct. And I look down there, grocery is one that jumps out, and so.
We did not restrict that.
No, yeah, but but those are, my point is,
Yeah.
I didn't see
Yeah.
any of those things in this language, is why I'm bringing that
Sure.
up in conversation.
And again, we made our review and then planning commission discussed. So like, again, there are some cities that have, when you look at a list of uses, allowed uses, they're 30 pages deep. We're a pretty small
Yes, right.
category. So grocery, while, obviously this site might not work for a Greer's, or something along those lines, a small market like Provision is a market. That's a grocery. That might work down the road. We didn't want to restrict that to that area, but, is that going to be attractive to a commercial grocer? Probably not. It's going to be hard to get deliveries in. And we would have that, review, certainly at the staff level.
So other than the fact that we, restaurant, which has already been discussed, which was the reason proposed to change it for the most part, and you just addressed grocery, the only one I see that the black dot that stands out would be shopping center right now.
Yes.
You want to add that?
Sure.
Yeah,
You want to add it?
we can,
I don't
just
have a problem with that.
just to
Yeah, I have a problem with
protect.
it. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, we can, just to cover, it says, especially if we're talking about actually voting to actually move this up, and we know that once we do that, then it's done,
Yeah.
So I would protect it. If we're going to make this move, I wouldn't take it lightly, and I, just thinking about it and listening to some of, my laterals, I mean, it is a big move, and you have to be careful. Not saying that anybody right now is going to think like that we're not talking about right now. I just want to make that clear. This is not pointing at a finger of right now, but you can't just think about right now when you make these type of moves. You have to think down the road, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is
So-
precedent setting.
That's right. So, you can't carry that lightly. So you have to take a little time and talk about it and have some hard conversations. And that's what we're doing. So, yeah, but, it's not my call, it's on all of us. Do we want to add something like that in that language to protect the future of Fairhope?
Yeah, that italicized version that you have in black italicized lettering, I wouldn't mind adding shopping center to that list.
And grocers, I mean, that's certainly something you can add. I'm just
I would-
kind of telling you why we didn't, because we don't have really a distinction between the big grocery store and the small market.
And neither
A
does
restaurant
neither does a
sometimes
developer.
sells items as well. Very common for them, and they probably maybe have to get like a grocer's distributorship to do that, so. If they want to sell sauce or wine, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think we think the worst, in my opinion, just to protect it. That's just, I mean, I know seem like I'm being but I just know people say, oh, that wouldn't happen. I beg to differ, you know, I mean,
Plan for the worst, hope for the best.
that's right.
And if an idea that falls in their shopping center and everybody on the council wants that, then they can come back and amend the ordinance.
That's right.
Right, and a grocery.
All right.
Yep, let's do those. And I feel good
Grocery?
about it. Yeah,
And shopping center.
I wouldn't add, I wouldn't.
Leave grocery?
I'd leave grocery.
okay.
'Cause I mean, I
leave it
think-
out because they are retail source for
Okay.
groceries. The
All right.
restaurants, it's very common that
Yeah.
they
Okay.
sell
So
a
I think
spice or their
that-
sauce or
Yeah, I
their
think that's
recipe
pretty
of this or
closely
that, yeah.
related, yeah, to
Okay.
restaurant. So I would leave that.
All right. Very good.
All right. We will get the advertisement out a week from Wednesday is when we got to get it out.
So
if
it'll be
there's
like this
any-
with the additional shopping center.
Unless I hear something else, if y'all need some more time to look, or another idea comes up, we can
Good
get that advertised.
Good job,
That's our
Hunter.
deadline. Thank
God
y'all.
bless you. Thank you,
All right.
sir.
You got this next one too, Hunter?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I am done for the evening. Just to mention,
Thank you.
if you would assume to make this kind of all official and make sure when we get in the council meeting to remove this agenda item for the final adoption to re-advertise.
No, you have 6, right, Hunter?
And
Is that an annexation? Is
I
that you?
know a little bit about that one, so I'll talk about it. This actually came as a straight annexation to
Oh, okay, it didn't
Lisa.
come through. Okay.
I'll give you a little background on this property. We did have a subdivision on this one quite a few years ago. It was split up with the intent to give 2 kids a piece of the property to build a home on. As soon as the jurisdiction went away from the city, there was a rezoning request for one of those to rezone it to a business district. I actually attended the planning commission at the county because we don't have any business in there. Didn't really recommend that area of town converting into business. They denied the zoning application. The county planning commission and county commission did. I've spoken with folks about this, and we can't. This is a straight rezoning request. It would be R1. I don't know what the long-range plans are. I've been very clear I will not support business in that area. I don't know if I think this would allow 3 houses instead of what the 2 were at R1, or they may submit a rezoning application in the future. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
in
Hunter.
coming.
All right, Jeff, you up 7? Is that you?
They would come in R1 still, right?
It would
Who
be
is
as straight zoning, it would be R1.
All right, very good.
My plotter. But Jeff's got the. I
Jeff,
can
you have
answer
7?
If I'm 7,
Are you 7, Hunter?
we have I'll answer that one too. The planning department does have a plotter scanner. We've had a Canon model for 3 years under that contract. That contract is expiring. Jeff did come to me and wanted to look at this Hewlett Packard that matches the one that Building and Public Works are using. I don't have a problem with that, so it's the standard request for that, just a replacement of the one we're currently using.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Number 8, Richard, is that you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good evening. Item number 8, as you know, y'all funded the assessment of the municipal pool building, and it allowed us to put together some budget numbers. This will be the next phase, which we're calling Phase 2. This is authorizing the architecture and engineering as well as the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contract. And I do kind of want to delve just a little bit into it, is the goal of this project is to lead pretty quickly to a construction project that's going to address what we consider the critical elements of the building itself and the mechanicals that go along with it. And if you look kind of down into your packet, you will see a breakout that What we're looking at is, for this first phase of design, we're going to get the structural repairs taken care of. That's, all of the structural steel that has section loss, that'll be repairing that, coating it, and getting it protected. And then the building envelope, which has a whole bunch of issues from just not being able to contain the elements in or out, roll-up doors, insulation, roof, all that, and then the MEP system. And in this phase, as you know, there was a lot of discussion about that the mechanical engineers really are of the position that ultimately we've got to get the condition of the air controlled. But this phase will reestablish the damper and fan system that was originally installed that doesn't work anymore, as well as get positive air or negative air pressure where negative air pressure needs to be and positive where it needs to be. Because the biggest problem is we're getting the ambient air that has the chlorine and the humidity into conditioned spaces within that. So that will be this. The MEP design budget's pretty big because that's going to involve just assessing the whole building for the future and planning for that so that we can come back and talk to you about options ultimately. Because here's the biggest challenge. We're going to get air circulating back in that building. We're going to get the envelope taken care of. We're going to get the structure taken care of. But that does not eliminate the corrosive environment that's causing degradation of the structure. And again, ultimately, to get absolute long-term preservation of the building is, in the opinion of the experts, is you got to get control of that air. You got to condition it and get a quality of air that's not going to be a corrosive environment to the metallic structure. But this will at least get us back to a starting point, and just by getting the air circulating in the building with the fans and the dampers will make a tremendous difference and at least slow any degradation of materials. So I hope I didn't get too far in the weeds on that, but that's where we are. And our goal is to pretty quickly get through this process and be out to bid for this first phase, which will address the structural, the envelope, and the minimum of the mechanicals, electrical, plumbing within that building. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big number.
So I'm still trying to follow all of this work, as there's a lot in here.
I can answer anything you want, Judge.
And there's some design, if you look at the A&E services, the 170,000, and you look back on the first page for the preliminary cost estimates, structural repairs, 350K, building envelope repairs, 350K, MEP systems, 130, that's 830,000. So we've got design and engineering fees of 20%.
Yep.
That is
That's what I was
correct.
looking at.
And the biggest challenge there, and that's going to be one of the things, is that sitting down with Pat and the other folks, is I do think that MEP is going to come way down because, I don't think there's a commitment to spend the money in the future to air condition and control that. I think that what the MEP that we want to spend is to get the air recirculating, get the original system back up and working, and correct any other mechanical, electrical, plumbing issues, but not pay for the design for a future phase 3 to condition that space. But that money that you see that's currently asked for in there does all of that design and reserves some of it for a future oversight if we go to that phase. But that was a pretty adamant position of the design team.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to see. It doesn't really spell that out, though. It just, in the bottom on page 3, it says description of A, and it just says design. On the first line, lump sum of 80, and then architecture, structure, and building envelope design services is 90. I guess I would feel better if it said it was going to be overseeing the work, some of the work as well, because just design and engineering services, we've been through this in here before, 20%'s a pretty hefty number.
Yeah, and if you're going even less than that, then it's almost 30% if that lumber is lower. So
That's what I'm saying. If you look on page 2 of 3 under MEP systems, this is what all of that includes for the MEP part of it, which is the, so it's split into two things. You have So you have 90 is the architecture, and 80 is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And if you look at page 2 of 3, under MEP systems, they're going down, and they're even having ultimately, they're pricing out in this upfront that if we go to a full-blown and a phase 3 to condition that space, that money would include the 40 weeks of construction, which is an insane number, answering RFIs, concealment inspections, and they're recognizing that we're splitting this into phasing, but that number is still existing. So if there is if you feel comfortable trimming that number back and us come back to you and we get into this to find out what was minimally required to meet this phase 2, we can do that. The architecture part of it, I think that number is rock solid.
I'm still not.
Yeah, I think I might feel more comfortable trimming that number.
yeah.
I mean, just, for. And so the architecture number that you feel is rock solid, Richard, that was 80?
90.
90, so.
And I think if we back the MEP down, design to a third of that, I think that gets us, that would cover us
That
to
would
get
be-
the existing air handling system
Yeah.
retrofitted and spec'd out and ready to go, and any other electrical plumbing needs to be addressed.
So you're saying back it down 90 and then 30, so 120, is that, did I hear that correct?
I think, yeah, if you did 30 on the MEP, 120, we're good to go.
Okay, all right.
And if
That's
we
a
need to
better
come
number.
back and amend that, we can come back and justify that amendment, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 17%. That's a better number. Still high, but it's a better number. Yes, sir. All right. Any other questions?
Total will be what now? 130?
120?
120, 17%.
90,
To
30.
700,000.
And I will make two comments on 9 and 10, and I think the others will probably do. I got to participate in that review of that. I will tell you, Kim and I lived the real world in Sally, and we learned that we didn't know a lot about PA, especially when it came to utilities. So not only to have a in-place contract that we hope we never use for general government services as well, for public assistance through FEMA, but having a team that has specific experience in utility PA, because I think Kim and I would admit to you that after Sally, after the fact, we realized that we probably left a lot of money on the table when it related to public assistance reimbursements due to utility activities. So I think they're a good firm, and again, this is one of those contracts I hope you approve that we never, ever, 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 ever have to use.
I agree with that. Thank you.
100%.
I agree with that, Richard. Thank you. So you have 9 and 10, correct?
Yes,
Same
and
thing.
then number 11, we're requesting, as you know, y'all allowed the mayor to negotiate with Watershed, and Rebecca Bryan is here, and I'm sure if we have time, she'd love to share some of her vision. But this is for the architectural services for the Nature Center at Flying Creek Nature Preserve. And this is to take what is also known as the Dias Homestead and convert it into a functioning nature center, as well as a support facility for the park. And I know one of the things that Rebecca and I have talked about, we've had an early assessment that the roof is in really, really bad shape, so she's going to knock that out first. So it will probably be a 2-part construction project. You'll come in and see a roof package first, and then the general remodel and retrofit after that. And we're requesting you approve the mayor to enter into that contract. And then item number 12, I did talk to you about this when you selected the firm, but also during a work session. As you know, you budgeted for us to pave the downtown central business district, Section Street, from our goals from Bayou to Fells. This is authorizing the contract with Gresham Smith. They're a firm that we have not done business with in a while, but the engineer that is there has done several projects for the city with another firm, and they're willing to work with us in not only the design and putting together all the documents, but they're willing to work with our in-house inspectors for the oversight. That will be a night paving and a pretty involved restriping. If you think about all of the parking spaces and everything that's in that central core on Section Street, and we're asking for you to approve that contract. And then finally, Ben and I probably, Ben gets about 4 or 5 phone calls a day about it. Number 22, as you know, the controller at the intersection of Bancroft and Fairhope went out on us, and it's been in just a flash mode for always stop condition. And we did get a quick response from Bagby and Russell, and they've got a pretty short lead time on this, and we're asking to approve that so that we can get that new controller installed. And I will tell you that we went ahead and that controller has the capacity to support pedestrian signals and full turn lanes if the future deems that needs to have that ability at the intersection. So it'll be a good upgrade, and hopefully, I don't know how old the one that's there, but I think Ben and I decided it was at least 30 years old. So hopefully this one will give us 30 good years of service as well. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
All right. Who has 13? Looks like Kimley Horn. Is that you, Darrell? Yeah. All right.
So I've got 13, 14, and 15. 13 is for Kimley Horn engineering fees, design engineering. For the force main projects, that's their prerequisite for restore.
This is just the design. Engineering services, correct?
It's design and construction oversight. Everything.
All right. Thank you, Darrell.
Do you have any questions on that one?
No.
Okay.
14?
14 is engineering services for the lead and service line inventory that was handed down from the EPA about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Yes. That's easy. You have no choice on that one.
We have, yeah, it's
Yeah.
due October of next
It's
year.
the lead line service, yeah. Coming from the houses, right. All right.
And number 15 is
Yeah, 15 as well.
Krebs engineering fees for the headworks. We had a kickoff meeting today.
All right. And Krebs is here?
Correct.
All right. Caleb, you want to say anything, or y'all got anything? Talk about that? Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
Any
We hadn't
questions?
voted on it yet.
Any questions on the headworks?
Nope. All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Darrell. All right, Mary, do you have 16, or is Richard are you gonna take 6? Oh, okay. 16. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Wes, I didn't see you.
Oh, you're good. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Wes, go ahead, what number you have?
Well, I don't have one. I'm just going to bring a few things to you that I feel like you need to know. That's why I was going to say, if you want to go ahead and do 16, go ahead. But just as an update from our department, Phase 1 of cast iron began on the 4th. I don't know if you've gotten any calls for that. I know Jimmy and I had a conversation. We were able.
Thank you.
You're
Very happy person for y'all following up so quickly.
Yeah, we were able to save the heritage plant, so we amended our construction drawings a little bit and saved a plant and made somebody happy, so.
Are y'all doing pipe replacement in Fruit Nut right now? Have y'all done any of that?
Where
They've
those are
started.
working right now.
You
Yeah,
got
so-
2 companies in town.
Well, so I just, the reason I asked that is because I had somebody contact me recently to say that, I don't know what the gas department's doing,
Yeah.
but whatever it was, they were in and out, and they cleaned themselves up quickly, and so they were very appreciative of
Good.
how efficiently the work was being done, so
Good, I appreciate that.
congrats on that.
So, yeah, our contractor's doing a really good job. Our project manager's doing a good job. Taylor's doing a good job with that. So, also, Cowpen Creek has been an interest. We're piggybacking with the Water and Sewer Department on a project they're doing. It's going to save us a significant amount of money, about half of what we thought it was going to cost us originally. And also, the Doleave Creek line is about 30 days out. So, replacing that line, and also the Highway 31 project is starting. A couple of you asked me some questions about that the other day. So, just wanted to follow up with you on those projects that would be
of interest to you and the citizens. So just a little bit of progress report on our department. That's it.
Yeah, so we just let the citizens know that there'll be people walking around in their front yards and.
Yeah, so
things
we're in
of
the
that
White
neighbor-
Avenue area right now.
Yeah.
We're coordinating, trying to get out of that area so that we can get that street paved. So we have a tentative goal of that of just a couple of weeks. So we're going to
Yeah.
try to be finished up there real quick so that the paving can come right behind us and get that paved for the citizens on White Avenue. And then then we'll be moving to 1B, I guess, would be the Seacliff area. So we'll be moving into that area. And we're trying to push notifications out in the areas affected, knocking on doors, putting some hangers on mailboxes and doors to kind of get the word out and making ourselves available for questions. So if you hear of something, Jimmy had something come up the other day, we were able to handle it with a phone call and a site visit. And so
Yeah.
anything that you hear, because it's a very impactful project, if you hear something, let me know. We'll get somebody out there, make contact with them, and more than likely we can curb some frustration or some
Yeah.
questions before it becomes a problem.
If they have to climb on the roof, I guess that's something you might want to let them know.
Yeah, we did. You know, it's
Because
one
we
of
had
those
some
things-
calls. I
it's
had
not a
call.
joke,
No,
yeah.
I had a call.
Yeah, yeah, we had a guy on the
Somebody
roof.
was climbing
Yeah.
on my roof and what the heck is going on?
Yeah, and so
So, yeah, I'm just gonna let you know.
we think we can over-notify, but we learn that we can't. And so, yeah, so getting the camera in the sewer line to ensure that there's no, we didn't disturb it and it wasn't disturbed before we got there and we get blamed for it, requires, in some cases, getting on the roof to get to the sewer vent to get the camera in the line. So, we had the conversation, but then there was a question that arose of why is this guy on my roof? Well, we thought we talked about it, but maybe we didn't. And so.
It's kind of confusing, though.
I'll be honest with you,
You
say
know,
I'm got to work on your sewer and you're on the
Right,
roof.
you're on
I'd
the
be a
roof.
little
I'm
confused at
confused.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's kind of confusing. So
it's
I
a
just
very
want to put
impactful
that
project,
out
so-
there publicly, that they may be on your roof.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't.
So we're doing our best to get the word out and
Right.
trying to stay ahead of construction with notifications, but, 100% contact has not been achieved quite yet, so we're trying to get everything out in the open. So if you have any questions or any of your people have any questions, then absolutely just get them in contact with us and we'll take care of it.
Thank you, Wes.
Thanks.
God
Thanks,
bless
Wes.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah, 16, I guess, just kind of mention it a little bit.
This is part of the well improvement projects, and this is some school board property and then some property that's owned by a church out near on County Road 33 or off of 33. So again, these are just easement documents to allow us to have temporary easement to go on to do test bores for the wells, and then possibility of looking at something more permanent.
And that's 17 too, Mayor.
That's correct.
16 and 17. Okay, very good. Those are pretty straightforward. Number 18, we talked about a little bit in
Yep.
the work session, not a little bit, but a lot. This one, I have here, I think Lisa gave me the revision, Marcus, as far as the revision of the resolution. I have that here, so it would be different from the one on the original agenda, correct?
Correct, but you're
Okay.
going to introduce that one.
We'll have to introduce this one, okay. All right.
Well, Hold on.
Yes, sir.
You say you'll have to introduce it.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
It's a
not
resolution, but I
but-
mean, that's the one you're going to vote on.
You mean just read it, just specify?
You read it,
Okay,
yes.
I
You had to
make
read
sure
the new-
procedure, yeah.
Yeah, the new one, not the old one. Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
But I just was making sure it wasn't an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance.
It's not orders. Yeah. I hope not. All right, let's see. Ben, is Ben here? Okay, I'm sorry.
So I
Hey,
have
buddy.
19, 20, 21, and 22. So 19 is project long overdue. It is to upgrade the 4-lane lights from Sportsman all the way to 104. That's new poles, new heads, everything. Right now, we can't get the parts to fix the old ones, so we're going to piggyback off of what's already approved from AlDOT, and it's basically going to be the same poles that you see north going north. It'll be the exact same thing. It was budgeted, and we could.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to.
Well, we're not working with them. We'll have to approve a permit from AlDOT.
So, Ben, is this a cost share with the planning organization or anybody else?
No, they're our lights.
So that's our responsibility from that area.
From
Really?
Yep, from 104, well, actually, all the way to south end of town.
And Riviera has the north section. Riviera has north on 98. They replaced theirs last year.
Yeah, started.
There were lights there for a long time, and they just kind of seemed like they just disappeared or something. What happened there with those lights?
Cars,
They won't- on
cars
98?
been taking them out here lately. It seems like one every month.
I don't know how long.
They were bent.
Maybe they've been there a lot longer than I think, you know. I remember when they were new.
So the south end of town, we actually replaced those, but the north end of town, we hadn't, because those are actually in the medians. So that's that, and they come in under budget. We're gonna do all the work in-house.
I think that's when they started doing the breakaway cars.
Mhm.
Okay. So
It
yeah.
is.
It's been a long time ago, probably 15 years.
So these poles are not breakaway?
They are.
Oh, okay,
They are.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're just gonna go back with a there'll be, instead of green poles, they'll actually be black. They'll look just like going out of town.
Do we budget this?
Yes, sir.
All right, good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's budgeted. It's budgeted. I just thought that maybe Al Dot or the organization, the planning organization would help with this kind of stuff. you
We ain't
know,
got
but-
that kind of money.
Yeah, but
We actually come
anyway,
in 5,000 under budget on it, so.
all right. Number
All
20?
right, number
what you got?
20 is for the 46 loop we've been working on. Those are the weathered steel poles, 35 of them. We're gonna accrue the material in-house and just do labor. And what we had and about 60,000 less than what the engineer had originally said these poles were gonna cost us.
All right.
And that's for that project. It's also.
This was budgeted as well?
Yes, sir, it
Yeah,
is.
and it's 60 less.
Yeah, that's just the poles right there. Those poles are,
We don't have to do
It-
that. For the distribution line.
Is what now?
They're under the exempt because of the utilities running through the distribution.
There's no product running through a pole there. That's wires and pipes and,
And we've got from other utilities too.
from who?
From some other utilities, we questioned this.
Okay, I never knew that poles were, I thought it was always just the wires and everything else. The AG hadn't done anything on it? Y'all just got something, we got something from somebody, another,
We got it from the utility if you want.
We want to hold down on that?
there's kind of a litmus test on that code section, and it's, the way I've done it for however long I've been doing it is a product flow through what you're purchasing that's exempt. And I can see the fixtures, because you're talking about one pole and a light and a head and everything else. You got the product that you're using, the electrical department going through that. The pole itself,
Has to be bid.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see what they've got from the other utility companies, because I haven't, like I said, it's kind of squirrely on the litmus test that we kind of always use, so that I've always thought applied to that.
So I tell you what, this is not urgent. Is this urgent? We can table
We
this?
got another meeting in 10 days.
Right. So let's table this one.
yeah,
Yeah, let's table this, in my opinion, guys, council,
we can make it.
council, anybody, Burrell, Brother Robertson?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's legal, safe and sorry.
Yeah, let's table this one, on as far as the meeting's concerned. Okay. You have 21 as well, Ben? Let's see, what is this?
All right, 21, that is we did bid this out. It's the tensioner, went over a couple of y'all with. That's going to allow us to actually start pulling in conductors, doing more in-house reconductor jobs. We got one part of this, the pulley, but this one actually puts tension on the wires and it actually lets us pull over. Was a budgeted item and it come in under what we budgeted.
Under budget, I saw that. Good job.
I did do my due diligence. We only had one bid, but I reached out and yeah.
Why are we getting, I saw that, just one bid. We keep getting these one bids, man, I tell you. But the price is still market, you think the price is still a good price?
It's
under-
actually
It was under budget, so
it's
I
actually
didn't say
about
anything with the one bid, so good job.
15 grand under what.
Right. Okay,
So,
all right.
and then the other one, like I said, with Richard with the traffic control, if you have any questions on that.
Yeah, he went over that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, all right.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Ben.
thank you, Ben.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, Paige, Mayor,
Paige is actually not here.
right.
She's texted me, but this is the fireworks for New Year's Eve and also, the music for New Year's Eve, the band.
yep. All right, thank you.
And both are within budget.
Yeah, so that company picks a band for us? That's a
Music
company-
Garden is just the booking agent.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They
we
don't
don't know
pick
the
it.
band yet.
We pick who it is.
Oh.
And I can tell you who the band is.
Okay, that's the question. It wasn't in
Yeah.
there, that's why I
No,
was
the
asking.
band is, Ready or Not, KNOT.
Ready or not, here we go. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't sing, guys. All right, very good, very good. All right. All right, let's see, 25 has already been done. We're removing 25, guys. Take that, strike 25. Removing 25, guys.
Okay.
All right. 26. Chief, or John, any problems with this one?
That's the,
And your chocolate and shit.
library?
This is the
The
library,
library-
this
The
is
library is
just
only
asking
on
for
here
liquor, for
to serve it
alcohol.
on public property, on city
Okay,
property.
so that's us. All right. Okay,
yeah.
that's it. All right.
All right, man, with 6 minutes to spare.
Oh, I did it. Yeah. You saw, I've been like.
Excuse me, Council President?
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you guys back here at 6
Council
minutes at
President.
6 o'clock.